Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special recording episode of the Longplay Club. We've returned to the world of in-depth video game discussion. My name is Christian Buckley. I am joined by Omar Nakvi. How are you?
Hey, what's up? I'm good. Yourself?
I'm good. I'm a victorious chosen undead here, ready to talk about the world of Dark Souls.
Is that what it is? I thought we were tarnished.
No, not yet. We gotta wait another
Okay.
month, basically, for that one. Did you see there's a new Miyazaki interview this morning? I saw on my timeline
Is
before
there?
we started calling. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds cool. I'd like to read that. I pre-ordered a copy of Elden Ring now.
Yeah.
I think I'm in.
Hell yeah. I'm excited. So we're of course here today. We're going to talk about Dark Souls 1. We both played it through. This is slightly different from the older Metal Gear long plays where those were weekly following progress. We both did the thing. We're done with it. We beat Dark Souls, and we're just going to look back retrospectively and talk about it.
Yeah. Is it fair? Can we spill the beans that this wasn't intended? It was more like we both accidentally played the game.
Yeah.
Like, in the last couple weeks. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was your idea. You came to me and you're like, hey, this it just kind of worked out. You want to do this? I was like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. No, it was fun.
hmm
We were texting a bunch during it. You saw my streams,
Yeah.
I think.
So I guess we can start with the way we started for Metal Gear. Usually when we kicked off a playthrough, history with Dark Souls. I guess from software as a whole, because the Dark Souls formula reaches into all of their games to some degree. So prior to beginning your Dark Souls playthrough, what was your experience with From?
I got a copy of Demon Souls for Christmas in 2009. I asked for it, and I got it. I didn't realize, I had heard it was hard, but I didn't know it was, I guess, inscrutable. I didn't know how to progress, really, so I kind of stopped playing it after, like, I don't even think I got to the first boss. And then I picked up Dark Souls on the PC when that came out, didn't get very far. Then I picked up Dark Souls 2 at launch, got 20 hours in there. Then I never finished any of these games. I basically played all of them at launch a bit, but I always never make any progress. But
Yeah.
until last week.
Yeah, my history with From is kind of similar to you, where I dabbled a little bit in some other things, where I remember my younger brother got Dark Souls on his 360, and I tried the beginning of it, and I saw the Asylum Demon and died, and I didn't even do anything after that. Like, I didn't go down, I didn't try to go around him. I was just like, oh, okay, not interested. And then years later, I ended up getting Bloodborne on my PS4. Really, really enjoyed that, but I did not get very far in Bloodborne. I probably got to the third boss before I put it down forever. Eventually came back to it after Sekiro came out, because Sekiro I got at launch, and I love that game, and I got up to the Guardian Ape, which is, no spoilers, but very tricky boss fight, and I put the game down. Eventually went back to Bloodborne, beat Bloodborne, and went back to Sekiro last year, beat Sekiro, and decided to do Dark Souls, finally, before Elden Ring. Because Elden Ring looks like it's evolving the Dark Souls series more than the other stuff, so. That was what I had going in.
I had a quick question. Should I be having Audacity running, by the way, or no?
No, this is fine. I got
Alright.
the audio through OBS, the way we used to do it. But,
Alright, sweet.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think Sekiro, I got to the Armored Knight. What do they call him? You know, the guy on that bridge before the apes? He's kind of a gimmick boss.
Well, that's actually
Roberto or something.
Yeah, that's actually pretty far, I feel like. That's after the apes, I think.
No, I definitely never saw the apes.
Okay.
But I think it's right around there. It's like right after the monks in the temple.
Okay, so it's on the way to Senpo Temple, but I think that's
it's in Senpo Temple, or maybe
yeah.
it isn't. I don't know.
that path, I forget how you unlock it, but I think that is the other path you have to go through to get the other item, because there's an item after the
Oh,
Guardian Ape and there's an item after the Corrupted Monk, and I've never
oh,
just
so
gone
could I
that
have
way.
got? I could have done the apes before that.
Yes, there's the two items from both paths. You need both, and I just did not know you could do one first over the other. I thought it was always apes first. So,
Oh, maybe I messed up.
well,
Maybe I gotta go back.
maybe you do. I mean, spoilers, you like Dark Souls, right? So you're gonna continue the
That's
From
true.
Software grind, right?
No, yeah, I'm just wondering, like, I really want to load up my save with Sekiro, but I feel like I probably need to, like, restart the game. Yeah.
Yeah, because,
But Dark Souls, I guess, or continue, sorry.
well, I was gonna just say, like, transitioning to Dark Souls, like I said, I beat Sekiro and I platinumed it last fall, so that was, like, around September-ish I did that, and I started Dark Souls, I think, late December or early January, and it was an adjustment for sure, because I came hot off Sekiro, which is parry or die. That's what that game is, you know? And Dark Souls is very much not that. You can parry in Dark Souls, but it's much more slower, deliberate, wait for your turn. And even Bloodborne is faster. I wanted to play it fast, and it was an adjustment for me where I just had to be patient more than anything. So when you first started it up, because like you said, you streamed it, how was it diving in and learning the mechanics and the world and all that?
Well, I think I kind of really... I guess I should have filled this in earlier, but I think I kind of know a lot about the way that game starts, because I've always tried going back to it occasionally, and sometimes it sticks, and sometimes it doesn't. I guess my last attempt was maybe 4 years ago, but I would do this thing when I was used to play it where I would grind out a bunch at the beginning, so I kind of know the very first parts of is it the Undead Burg, the Firelink Shrine, or whatever, some of that stepping out stuff.
Yeah, you start in the Undead Asylum, and then you get crowed over to Firelink.
Yeah. So I kind of remember the pace of the game, but yeah. I don't know. It's definitely different than, I guess the last one I put time into was Sekiro. It's definitely much different from that. But it had been like 2 years for me at that point since I've touched Sekiro, so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the beginning of this game, for at least people who are online, I guess, in gaming communities, I feel like it's kind of iconic, because, like, I didn't, like I said, have experience beyond trying at my brother's 360 back in the day, so I did remember kind of that there was this big thing that drops down, but the whole, you wake up in the cell, you go out, you're supposed to die, and then you gotta find your way around it, like, I feel like that's, and maybe that's just an expectation I have, because that's kind of how Bloodborne starts also, but yeah, I think I went into this with some knowledge of some of the bosses, just visually, but in terms of the way it's structured, I was kind of surprised by the fact that there's, like, the first half of the game in Lordran, I think, and then the second half in Anor Londo, and going for the Lord Souls. I didn't know that it was split up that way.
Was the second half, it's still Lordran, right? But you go to Anor Londo, or does it change? Is that a different location?
Yeah, so I think the whole region is Lordran,
Okay.
but there's, like, the upper and the lower, and the upper is where Anor Londo and Seath's Castle, and, like, you know all the locations up there, but, like,
Yeah.
I think that's the division where I watched a bunch of lore stuff the other day, and I think you were able to skim through some as well. But
Yeah, I saw something. I heard about the above and the below just this morning.
yeah, that entire concept I think is really cool and just very, very interesting, because while you were going through the game, how much story, I guess, stuck out to you in your playthrough?
Not much. I think at some point I learned the lore behind with Seed in the game. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like Seed was a scientist or whatever, or I don't know, doing some crazy experimental shit on people. I don't know. And so I learned that while playing the game, so that was a cool effect because then I could see shit happening. But otherwise, I didn't pick up on much. And to be honest, I was streaming it, so I don't know if I just wasn't absorbing all of it. I was reading the chat, but like, yeah, a lot of this lore has kind of blindsided me a bit. What I've seen for it today, like, Havel was one of Gwen's friends or whatever. That guy you just kill underneath in the cellar before the Taurus demon was actually one of King. Is it Gwen or Gwen? One of King Gwen's best friends. I don't know. Like, some of it's weird.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like you gotta search for it.
Yeah, because like I think the beginning of the game has that really nice cinematic, right? Where it's like you see this war, you see Seath, you see Gwen with the thunderbolt and all that stuff. Like, it's a really great cutscene and sets up the history of the world, right? And I feel like, with the exception of maybe Framped, you don't get direct follow-ups to that storyline in dialogue, right? Like, a lot of the appeal that people praise From Software for is the way they tell their stories through, like, item descriptions and environmental storytelling, which, again, even a lot of that flew right past me, where I didn't know about Havel. I didn't know that... I mean, this one was cool, and I don't think this was in one of the videos I sent you, but remember in the first area in Anor Londo, when you get there and you have to go up to the left through that, like, window that's broken, and that's the room with the painting?
Yes, we shimmy off that ledge, that weird, like, balcony, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, so in the lore, like, I don't know if you grabbed this, but in the back left corner of that room, left corner next to the painting, there's one of those painters guarding a corpse of a knight that you can get armor from. And apparently, I forget the, like, motivations for it, but that knight was somebody in universe who previously attempted to do what you were doing for Framped, and that's why the window's broken and you have a bit of a path at the beginning of Anor Londo. It's because that guy tried before you. So, like, stuff like that I think is cool, you know?
Yeah.
So...
No, I definitely think it's cool. I just, while playing it, I definitely missed all of it. And I think that's neat, honestly, because, like, I should probably watch that opening cutscene again because I can't remember any of it. But it's neat for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even the opening cutscene, I think the story beats in that are covered in the, like, the animated Dark Souls story that I sent you, where...
Yeah.
And I'll link the videos we're discussing below, but even in the cutscene, I feel like it's kind of vague, where you just see the four giants, or like three of them, and Seath fighting the dragons. So it's still cool. It's still a cool setup, but you see that, then you wake up, and then you go the first half of the game not even thinking about any of those things, which I'm with you. I think is cool that can just kind of be there and have nothing to do with anything.
It makes it easy to play a lot of, I think, with how hands-off it is about the storytelling, because you're just kind of running through it, and just I think you can kind of feel it with all the environment and stuff, but definitely I like how it doesn't really force you to understand any of it, you know?
Yeah.
I heard someone on the stream said this. They said, like, Ornstein and Smo, I guess Smo was a cannibal or something.
Really?
That's what I heard. Like, I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, it's a fake video game, but I don't know. Seems cool.
That is cool, yeah. I mean, I think the highlight, just in terms of the way you're talking about the bosses and how you set up, like, the story and the way you consume the story, like I love the characters in this game, like the NPCs and the dialogue. I love all of that so much because it's never
The
too
voice acting is
long.
amazing.
Yeah, the voice acting is so good. It's never too long. And I also appreciate, this is just kind of a stupid fun thing. If you're not interested, you can just walk away. You don't even have to like exit out the dialogue stuff. You can just walk and they'll stop. But
Yeah, they acknowledge it too sometimes, right?
yeah, yeah, that's fun. I like Andre the blacksmith. There were a couple times where like I was talking to him and it was a repeat dialogue thing, and I was like, okay, I don't need this. I can just go to the dark route. That's where I had to go anyway. And when I'm going down the stairs, he's like, "Where are you going?" It's like, oh yeah,
Right.
that's fun. But yeah, just all the NPCs I think are super interesting, and like you mentioned, you don't really pick up on their individual arcs until after the fact, kind of, where like I missed out on most of those NPCs questline resolutions. Like I think I got close to seeing Solaris through, but I didn't see the final piece of it, you know?
I didn't see any of those, and I don't know if that was if I just was rushing through it, or like with Solaire, I don't think I want to interact with him because I was trying to solo the gargoyles or whatever. I don't know if you need to summon him to get the quest shit started. I don't know how that goes. Is that how that goes?
So, as far as I'm aware, it's like only, for the most part, it's dialogue related, where
I see.
you just have to like see him in a location, talk to him, and then he'll be in a different place along your journey.
I see.
So that's Solaire's path, and then there's the Onion Knight,
Yeah. That guy's
Siegmeyer. So Siegmeyer's thing, because again, there was a certain point where I stopped seeing him, but every time you see him, he's like hit a wall and he can't figure out what to do next. And the resolution of his whole story is every time you see him, you help him out with whatever he's stuck on. And then because of the way the hollowing works and like humanity and all that, you like the undead will become hollow if they lose like what drives them, and Siegmeyer's whole thing is honor and like pride. But if you keep saving him, he'll eventually go hollow because he is like, oh, I'm useless. Nobody, like, I just having to keep being helped. So like, there's stuff like that I think is super cool too, where I didn't even know that was an arc for a character in this game, but I still love Siegmeyer every time I saw him. You know, I was like, hey, yeah, you're cool.
Yeah, he's the best.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Mhm.
I don't think there's a quest line for this, but just thinking about some other NPCs. Like I love that giant
Oh yeah,
in the DLC.
love
The one that
him.
shoots the Kalamite.
Yeah, what's his
That is
name?
awesome.
His name's like Goff or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, he's cool. Yeah, and I think on a baseline too, just a lot of the character designs are really creative and inspiring in a way, right? Where you have this blind giant who's a blacksmith and he hates dragons, you know, like that's just cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think some environments are like bad probably, but like the enemies and the way they look always, for the most part, really impress. I think, especially the bosses. Like,
Well-
I think Smo looks crazy,
Yeah.
and you know, Grave Lord Nito even.
Hmm.
I think is a really scary looking guy. I'm a big fan of oh man, I think I just forgot. I don't know, Seed.
Yeah,
White
Seed was
Dragon?
cool.
I don't know.
Hmm.
Like, this is neat.
Yeah.
The Four Kings is what I wanted to say. I love that freaking Black Abyss shit
Hmm.
and fighting those guys. Now I'm just going about the art, but that was very like, I thought we were in like a Final Fantasy summon or something.
Yeah, that was
super cool.
yeah, that's funny because I remember when I got there, because a couple of my friends are like huge into the From Software series, and they've been waiting on me to get through Dark Souls. So I got to the Four Kings fight and I was like, this is some Kingdom Hearts shit. Just like the stained glass at the beginning where just everything around you's black. Like it was a really cool set piece, and I didn't expect to be doing something like that in this game, you know, which is on the surface and again in the first half kind of standard, fair, medieval looking environmental design and character design, right? Where, not in a bad way, but I feel like a lot of the locations up to maybe Quelaag you could see in kind of any game in this setting or going for this vibe, you know? Not to say that it's bad or boring, because I don't think it is. I think a lot of the atmosphere in these locations in the first half are great, but I was really surprised by some of the locations in the second half of the game, honestly.
Yeah, like the Bed of Chaos, all that stuff with the Caesar's Discharge.
Yeah.
That looked awesome.
Yeah, that was really cool. The
Seeds, the Crystal Cove shit before you get to him.
Yeah, the library, the Duke's Archives.
Oh my god, amazing.
Yeah.
Anne Orlando, let's go.
Yeah, dude, when we got to the I know we're jumping around a lot, but like when the Anne Orlando thing happened and the cutscene of the wraiths or whatever, like they bring you up there and then you just see this expansive area and it's like, hey, this is what you're actually here for. That was a great moment. I got chills. That was great.
Yeah. You think you're just picking up an item?
Yeah, yeah.
And then it just takes you there. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's a really well, like, the cinematics are like best in class. I feel like in terms of gaming stuff.
Yeah, because they're not like rare, because usually bosses will get a cutscene introduction, right? Like some don't, but I feel like they're so well paced out for when you get cutscenes that they feel really special when you get them. Like they're almost a little treat.
Totally.
And yeah, the direction of all the cutscenes, I agree with you, is just really like top notch. It's very well presented for some of those introductions.
It's some of my favorite camera movements, I think, in a video game. It always looks crazy, like very energetic, and like even not even just some of the cinematic, like let's say like first boss Taurus, even when that guy or second boss, when that guy jumps onto that whatever the platform is where the archers are, like the animations look nuts, and I don't know, cool game.
Yeah. So what version did you play? You played on PC and you played the standard.
I played the PC. I played the remastered version on PC.
Oh, okay,
I was
cool.
hoping, like, I thought, I didn't do Prepare to Die. I don't really know what the reason was. I don't think there was a reason. It's just I had remastered. Honestly, my crazy idea was to play it on the 360, but everyone told me no. And then I guess we just played remastered because it was there, and I guess I kind of thought that it would be more populated too with players, but the servers were down all week, so
yeah,
I didn't get to see much of that.
So that's interesting, because I thought you did play Prepare to Die. So, because I came into one of your streams, I think, when you were saying Prepare to Die, and I was like, oh, that's the version he's playing. But
no, I just think it's a funny marketing tagline, because like, that's how that game got re-released, like with the DLC. Yeah, isn't that crazy? I just feel like it's just so like not what those games are about. Even though, of course, you die a lot, but like, I feel like you go to From, they wouldn't talk about the game like, oh yeah, we make the game that's hard that you die a lot in.
Yeah, which I think is such an interesting thing, because I remember, like, obviously I didn't play it when it came out, and it wasn't something that I was like not interested in, but like not even like considering in like the types of games I was playing. But I remember the posters and like the Prepare to Die stuff, and I was like, oh, that seems like a hardcore game. And I wonder if a lot of the modern discussion around difficulty is influenced by that marketing campaign, because the games are challenging, and I think from an accessibility standpoint they could absolutely use a lot of work. But I think like they're not easily approachable, I don't think, because there is something they ask out of you, and there's a steep learning curve. But at least I think after the Bell Gargoyles, that's your first check, and then I think the real test is Ornstein and Smo. Like after that, I wasn't struggling a ton on bosses. Like the DLC bosses could be tough, but for the mainline game post Ornstein, I was like cruising, kind of, where I could usually get something in my first like 5 attempts. Granted, Dark Souls progression, I felt super OP in the second half of the game because of the way my build was set up. But yeah,
And what was your build?
Yeah, so I did the Black Knight sword, which I got in the Undead Asylum before I did Sen's Fortress. And that was a piece of advice from my friend Matt. He was like, "What are you using right now?" And I had the Gargoyle Axe up to that point, and he was like, "If you want an easier time, go find this sword." So I did that.
Yeah, that's right, baby. I did it on hard mode. Let's
Yeah, you
fucking
did.
go.
Yeah. Yeah, because you
What
ran
did
with that, right?
Yeah, I did. I did the whole game with that basically after Taurus Demon. I beat the gargoyles with it. I didn't beat Gaping Dragon with it, but then I beat the whole rest of the game with it.
Mm-hmm.
But did the Black Knight sword, did that scale off of strength or
Yes.
what does that scale off of?
So that scaled off of strength. I had to pump some into Dex just to be able to wield it, but
Oh yeah, the required parameter.
yeah. But once I got that, I was a big fan of that and just like the speed of it and the animations tied to it. But the downside to the Black Knight sword, because there is a downside, is it can only go up to +5, I think, or +6 maybe for upgrades, and
That's weird.
you can't buff it with anything. So Gold Pine Resin, the fire stuff, could not do that for anything. So
That's I know the halberd can go to 15.
mm-hmm.
I thought, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, the discussion about the hard thing. Like I keep thinking about it because like I do think like a lot of the discourse around Soul. Oh, not discourse, not to get into big on that, but like they're absolutely challenging, right?
Yeah.
But if I think about the grand scheme of me and games person, like I can't say the game isn't hard. You saw me like fight Kamalite and like Manus for like 2 hours each.
Yeah.
Like it's challenging and it's hard, but I also think back like, oh, back in 2012 or 2011, the boat section in Uncharted 3 was also kind of infuriating hard for me. So I don't know if that's a personal comment on me or like just like a Call of Duty level sometimes can be kind of frustrating, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes the encounter design is just kind of crazy, and a lot of like NES or like Genesis games you go back to these days are, I think, harder to get into than this one still, hard or have more difficulty. So I don't really know, because like, I think when you have a degree of, especially in the Souls series, when there's all this build variation you can do, it has to be balanced in a way that it has to be like kind of fair for a lot of players. And I think they do balance it kind of well. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it's probably no harder than a lot of games that come out.
Yeah, I think the difference is probably, because I agree with you. Like I last year tried to get like into the Devil May Cry series and could not. It was too tough. I didn't like the way it was set up. But
are we talking still about Devil May Cry 1?
Devil May Cry 1, yeah.
Because that game is hard, right?
It's real hard, yeah.
Yeah. But no one would say that about it, or I guess maybe at the time, I don't know. But like these days, it's like, oh, you just play all the Devil May Crys.
Yeah.
Like,
so
I don't know.
It's funny. After I beat Sekiro, I went back to Devil May Cry and I was able to do it just because I was like thinking on that level of like very fast paced, very aggressive character action type combat. But it was still real hard. Like Sekiro's tough. Sekiro's real hard until you learn how the game wants you to play it. And I think that's a similar thing here where the game is a challenge, right? Like the whole entirety of Dark Souls is a challenging game, but I think a lot of the challenge is just figuring out how you should be playing it more so than like, yeah, this boss one-shot me, where like that can happen, but there are certain elements to that fight where it's like, okay, if you see this animation going, that's the one-shot move, so run, you know? If you want to get attacks in, do it when they do these moves, and do it when they have this animation break, and figure out how long your attacks take, and how many you should get in before you leave, and when you should heal. Like, I think that's the challenging thing, is the game just demands you to learn its rules and how you can be good at it, more so than the game feels like it's trying to kill me constantly, you know?
Yeah, but it's like, I would still say it's probably hard though, right? Like, it's still a hard game.
Yeah, like...
Even if you're teaching, like, I think it's fair though, right? You get to learn everything. But
yeah.
Especially, like, also, I feel like it is probably a requirement to also, like, be looking up stuff online or talking to your friends about it.
Yeah.
Like, you need friends or online resources, which I think also adds difficulty to it too. But, like, or the hard factor or whatever. But it makes sense why this game is, you know, has been so inscrutable to me for all these years, and to a lot of people, I guess.
For sure, yeah. Because I think a byproduct of the way they tell their story and the way they're very hands-off is that it does, like, the learning curve is very steep and it's very early, you know, and they don't really give you a lot of resources to, like, direct you at all. So that's where that does come in, of, like, the community aspect of it, where,
you know,
that still is challenging. Like, that still is hard, but I think there are plenty of other games where there's a few hours of introduction, and then you reach the point where the game is like, okay, we're not helping you anymore, this is it. I think Dark Souls just kind of starts at that point, you know, where it's like, hey, you should know what you're doing right now when you walk into Firelink. So.
Right, or I feel like it's always a deceptively easy first hour in Souls games.
Sure.
They do the onboarding stuff, but then you get a trolley boss. Like, I think, not trolley, but you know.
Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Demon Souls beginning, yeah, like Demon Souls beginning. You know you fight the Phalanx demon or whatever. First, that's the first area. You know that one, that big blob guy?
I'm not sure.
That's the first boss of Demon Souls.
Okay.
Okay, well, it's very easy. You just throw like 8 fire bombs at it and it's down. It's probably the easiest fight I've seen in one of these games. But then the second area boss is the armor spider, which is a problem. And in Dark Souls, I feel like it's you know, Asylum Demon, pretty easy. Taurus Demon, pretty easy. Can be tricky for sure. But then honestly, the hardest boss I had in this game was the gargoyles, which I took 4 hours on.
Yeah, dude.
Like, because they bring, that's when they start introducing like the whole like crowd control thing with enemies at that scale and fire.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it is a pretty good tutorial until then it isn't. Then it's like, okay, get good.
Yeah, I think because the bell gargoyles were my first wall also. Like, they're supposed to be, you know, because you're supposed to ring 2 bells, and the path to that bell is not very long. Like, you get to the Undead Parish, you find the shortcut to Firelink with the elevator, and then once you have that, you have your access to your 10 Estus, the elevator goes straight up, and then you gotta go through, like, 2 hallways and a ladder, and then you're at the gargoyles. So the journey to get to that bell is not that hard, but the boss is absolutely a skill check, where it's... I think the main lesson there was, like, trying to just learn patience and when to take your attacks, because it took me, like, 50 attempts. Like, I also took a very long time on these bosses.
Yeah.
But... Go ahead.
I will say, I think that journey... now this is kind of going back to the hard discussion too, but I actually had some difficulty with the journey getting to the gargoyles because, like, there's that, you go to that room and there's like a wizard shooting orbs, and then like there's a big mob of like easy guys, or the dude with a rapier in the tiny corridor, which can be tricky. And I guess I still feel like a lot of these areas in the game like are straight up actually hard, or I had to run past most of them most of the time, or maybe they take too long. But a lot of mobs, I still feel like I never really got the best idea how to handle.
Yeah.
If there's any. other than just to bait one out and go that way.
Yeah.
Which seems at that point you're just kind of messing with the AI behavior rather than serious gaming.
Yeah, I think early game, because I was like this in Bloodborne and also Sekiro, like early game you like thin out crowds, like you use your throwable item to get some people and bait them. And I think the only thing that I truly think is maybe annoying about any of the games from them I've played is, and this is only like so much of an annoyance for me, but like having to rerun the path from the bonfire to the boss can be very tedious, because like you said, I don't think in a bubble that path to the gargoyles is super hard. I think it can just be annoying, especially when you have to do it for the 12th time. And if you...
Sometimes you do a bad roll and you can't skip all the enemies.
Yes.
You get mobbed.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I'm fucking dead now, you know? So like,
yeah.
That's the only thing that I think is annoying, where I understand why it's like that, but I don't think it has to be. You know, I think you could probably just easily restart from the fog gate and be fine. But
I think some boss runs are more enjoyable than the others.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't mind it half the time, but half the time it can definitely be annoying.
Yeah, like
I can't understand, like... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna shout out another annoying one, was the run from the swampy bonfire under Blighttown to Quelaag.
Julog?
Yeah,
Quelaag.
Yeah. Hated that one.
That one's rough because you get poisoned every time, right? Or
yep.
like, no, you straight get poisoned. Yeah, it's messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, like, in an area, like, some of these areas I feel like are just designed to just run past them? Like, I can't... Did you go one by one in Blighttown and, like, kill everything on your way down?
So, my first playthrough, because I'm halfway through a New Game Plus, after you were, like, in your later streams, I was like, damn, I want to play it again.
Yeah.
So, my first playthrough, I just ran through Blighttown, pretty much. I did those initial enemies on the bridge, like those 3 ogres and the blow dart dude, and then I just ran, and I just kept doing that until I made it to the ground and found that bonfire. Because I didn't even know that there was a bonfire in Blighttown, my first run, until I saw you get it. And I was like, wait, I should do that next time, so...
Oh, that one with the dogs next to it?
Yeah.
That one? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I, for my path down, I just, like, kind of hugged the wall the best I could, and I, like, dropped down beyond that squid thing, and then I dropped down again to see some of those fireball things, and managed to get to the bonfire in the little water channel, so...
I think it took me, like, an hour or 2 to get through all that running past it, which actually isn't bad in the grand scheme of things for me.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely was like, that area felt unforgiving.
Yeah, but
for a bit.
To go back to what your question was and where you were going with it, I think, like, even in the other From games, there are plenty of times where I just run past enemies. Because, like,
yeah,
especially Bloodborne, like, early game, if I'm starting up a new attempt and I'm just going for the Cleric Beast, like... After my initial pass-through by the, like, burning man in that square with the dogs and the sharpshooters, where I get, like, blood echoes so I can upgrade, after that, once I'm competent, when I feel good about my skills that I upgrade, I'll just run past them to get to the boss. Like, I don't think that's frowned upon, and I think it's kind of intended at some point to do that, because,
no,
like, you know you can kill them. Why waste your time, you know?
Yeah, no, I think that's fine, but I just, like, wonder, like some of these runs feel, like, hard the first time, too, where it's, like, oh, I don't know, I, like, the Blighttown one, I really wonder, is that one designed for people to just see that early on and, like, not run past all of it? Like, that one feels, some of them feel particularly unforgiving.
Sure,
in
yeah.
ways. But, yeah. No, I think it's probably encouraged at some point just to run past the enemies. Mm-hmm. Unless maybe if you don't run past and you go one by one, then you will have greater desperation to defeat the boss each time. I don't know.
Sure, yeah.
What the thinking is. Yeah, should we go back to the gargoyles? Because that shit was hard. How'd you do it? Did you like
Yeah.
did you get to use resin on them or anything like that? Or
So I did not. I don't think I had any on me at the time.
okay.
I did cave and I looked it up to see if there was anything that I like, if there's a gimmick to the fight, if there was a cheese, and I forget if it was one of my friends in the PlayStation party or if it was a thing I read, but it was like, and again, I felt so stupid because early game, you're picking up items, right, that you like will never see again, where the black powder bombs, which are just fire bombs, the gargoyles are weak to fire. So like,
Or they?
yeah, you could have just yeeted like as many of those bombs you had at that thing, and probably like 7 would have killed it, I think. But I eventually got to a point where maybe on like my 20th attempt, I cut the tail off and I got the axe. And up to that point, I was using like a jank hatchet and something else, like a sword that was not really doing much damage. So between the axe and maybe like 2 fire bombs, I was able to get that first one. And on repeat attempts after I got the axe, I was trying to cut the tail off first on the first one because it would prevent... The second one can't fly, so it can't do that like floating twist attack with the tail. So my strategy was, after the axe, cut the tail off so that takes out a chunk of health and it prevents the flying one from being able to do the tail whip. And that made it a little more manageable for me. And then like waiting to take my shots on the first one and then just going all in on the second one when it was just a one-on-one. But what about you? How did that turn out for you?
Yeah. I don't think I realized that one of them couldn't do the flying jump, like, even until now. I didn't know. I think the gargoyles, like, was really hitting a wall on them. I heard to use Gulpine resin, but then I ended up wasting 3 runs with that shit, and then it was all gone. And then I was using my broadsword at the time. I was playing the game with a broadsword and like a shield, I think, and like one hand on each. And then it really wasn't doing all that much damage, but I didn't really know what was going on. And then at some point, I just accidentally cut off the tail, just not realizing that I would spawn an axe. And then I got the axe and then two-handed it, and I did it that way. And it took 4 hours though. Straight up, that in the grand scheme of things, that was my hardest boss. Has to be.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Like, what boss do you think was the hardest? And do you think it's just the gargoyles because of their placement? And like, that is the first actual skill check of the game, I think. Like, that's the first wall that you gotta overcome.
You can't. You gotta figure. That's where you figure out don't lock on, and the whole like 2 big guys. Yeah, I think it's probably that. I mean, if Manus was there instead in that place, or like, I don't know, maybe even not. Like, I spent 2 hours on a lot of bosses. Like, I think Manus and Camelite and Quelaag took me 2 hours each. It's probably a couple more. Ornstein and Smo took me 3 hours probably. Oh no, maybe closer to 2.5. I think it's a lot of that was just like me kind of wailing in and being greedy in a lot of cases, but I still think the gargoyles is probably the hardest one just because of like having 2 big guys like that immediately is rough. But I will say I think some of it comes from personally me streaming it, where like I think when I did the Camelite and Manus bosses, it was like I had said I was going to finish the game. But if I had not said that, I probably would have ended the stream because my brain wasn't clearly like not working at that point. But like, Camelite was hard for me. I think a lot of it is just patience, though, right? That's what everyone kind of says. But I thought you could be more aggressive, I guess. That was my thinking. I thought I had heard you could be kind of aggressive in these games. Maybe I just didn't find the secret. But I kept trying to roll and get iframes and rolling into play people, but I found often iframes are a little less forgiving than I thought they would be. Kind of rambling, But yeah, I don't
Well,
know. What about you?
one of the things about your playstyle also that I think is worth bringing up is that because Gargoyle Axe is more effective two-handed, you just never use shields, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
So,
I rolled a bunch,
mhm.
and I had to rely on iframes, right?
Yeah,
Like,
which also meant you were trying to fast roll all the time, so that like chained you down with certain armor choices for a while, right?
yeah, like I was like, I got kind of good at that game, right?
Yeah.
No, or like I was like, not that. Obviously, I took a long. The bosses took me a while, but like, I had to learn those movesets, which I still feel pretty proud of. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, because I remember early game, again, I was talking to my friend Matt, I was like, yeah, I'm not, I think I was dying a lot in something, and he was like, are you using a shield? And I was like, no. He's like, get a shield. So, because that's another thing, Bloodborne is very aggressive, and you can play it like that, and you have to play it like that. There's one shield
Right.
you can get in Bloodborne, and it sucks. And
It's a joke, right?
yeah, and you're sacrificing having your gun in your left hand, which you can use to parry or stun people. Like, that is something that I was just used to with my previous From games. So I was hoping I could have played it like that, but eventually I did start using a shield, and I will say parrying in this game, I love parrying in any game, but parrying in this game, it felt best on like the Silver Knights and the Black Knights, where it was
Yeah.
very easy to read their attack and know when you should parry. Um, and because I just felt so OP by the end of the game, which we'll get to this later, but like I probably could have gotten through Gwyn very fast just attacking him, but I decided to just like I'm just gonna parry him for the entire fight, and that made it more fun for me. But yeah, the shield I think is obviously not essential because you got through the game successfully in around the same time I did by not using a shield, but I do think that was another thing I had to wrap my head around going into this, is that patience and waiting your turn is kind of essential.
Yeah, no, because I think like with the shield stuff, if I had used that, I don't think I would and I think this happened to me on previous playthroughs or attempts, because I was always trying to, rather than learn the attack, I would try to make sure I could just have my shield up during some of it. Which I think at this point, this playthrough for me personally, I had to, not having the shield made me try to learn the moveset in a way. But it was like hard, man. I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, kind of lost my train of thought a bit. Forgive me, but I don't know, man. Shields, they look cool. The parrying is great. I kind of, could you parry bosses and stuff? Could you do that?
Yes. I don't know how
Any
many.
bosses in particular? Okay.
I you could probably parry Artorias. You could definitely parry Gwyn, because I did that. Maybe Ornstein when he's small. I never tried it, but
Okay. No, he's very fast. That'd be tough.
yeah. I can't think of many others that stand out as like parryable bosses though, or ones that like would make sense based off of what they look like. Because from memory, at least, I feel like most of the bosses in this game are kind of like demons, almost like big enemies. There's not many just like normal standard people as the enemy.
No, those are my favorite boss fights, though. I think the small ones. I think I might be the guy that says Artorias is the favorite fight, but man, that guy's awesome.
Yeah, I love the Artorias fight. It's real good.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so great. Yeah, I had to. I really had to focus on like learn the whole iframe shit, which I still think I kind of at some point I might have regressed and like forgot. But like even like without the shield too, I think you probably noticed me like just rolling backwards because I just got scared.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's a part of the game, right? And I think a lot of people have to play it like that because it's being patient and just creating distance a lot of times, right? Is that what has to be done here, unlike Bloodborne? Like,
For the most part, yeah. I feel like, for me at least, the exceptions were Four Kings and Manus, I found myself like glued to them just so they couldn't do their long-ranged super big attacks on me, where Four Kings had that really long thrust.
Right.
And they kind of had an overhead thing too.
The
But
Four Kings, if I may, did they shoot that that tiny purple beam if you were close to them, or no?
no.
You know that tiny one that kind of tracks you a bunch?
Yeah, if you were
If you
close to
stay
them, they
close,
wouldn't do that.
they won't do that.
No.
Oh, man,
But
that got me so many times, honestly.
like if I'm glued to one of them and then another one in the distance comes into the battlefield, then they could, you know?
Okay.
But
Right.
if you're playing at a pace where you can mostly manage all of that and like try to get through one at a time, then you don't have to really worry about the ranged attacks. And with Manus, I treated it like a Bloodborne boss, essentially, where I was trying to just be like get his health down as fast as I could and like stay on top of him. But yeah, outside of those two, I think a lot of it was, especially with Quelaag, because of the like AoE burst, that taught me like, yeah, run away until the animation chain starts where you know you can get attacks in. And then
Right.
when some bosses have an AoE, but like when there is an AoE or a big swooping attack, run and then wait again. So it absolutely is about patience more than Bloodborne, more than Sekiro. And that was another hurdle for sure.
I quite like that Manus fight.
Yeah, dude. Man,
Looking back, I think it's good. Like you can read a lot of those attacks and just roll close to him, but it's definitely scary. Like especially when he brings that hand out and does like 5 attacks in quick succession. Four Kings was a bit of a hurdle. Four Kings was actually probably the hardest Lord Vessel boss I had, because I don't know if I was doing quite enough damage at the time, or that laser attack kept getting me, and then I would get scared whenever a new king would spawn. By the end of it, I actually had a 5th king spawn. I don't know how common that
Yeah,
is.
no, that happened to me too.
But, right, a 5th king is funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that one took me like 2 hours, I think. Then I think Gravelord Nito was the second hardest, and then I guess the Chaos and Seed. Man, those bosses kind of suck compared to the other ones.
Yeah, so
I just realized now that the sucky bosses were like Lord Vessel ones. Oh my god.
yeah, so I did a tier maker of the bosses. I'll try and pull up what my favorites were.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, I'm with you. Like some of the bosses I didn't like more of the bosses in this game than I did like, I think, which is unfortunate. So
Yeah.
my favorites, my S and A tiers are Artorias, Ornstein and Smo, Manus, Sif, Gwyn, and Gaping Dragon. Everything else fell on B, C, D, or F for me.
Those ones are definitely memorable. I like the Taurus demon. I suppose. I guess it's pretty easy, but the animation's cool. And I think I think the Gargoyle's fight was good, right? You have to learn it, but then it's not so bad.
Yeah, for me, both of them fell on C, where I think for their role in the game, they're real good. But in hindsight, it's like, that's a real simple boss, you know?
Sure. You don't feel that about like the Gaping Dragon?
No, because I think Gaping Dragon is like part of it's the presentation, but I also think that the moveset and like the rhythm of that fight I like a lot, where it's got some unique attacks. It can go up in the air. It has the AoE sludge thing to get you to run away. It does that like tooth charge thing. Like, it's cool. It's a cool fight, I think.
Yeah. And it's also probably one of my favorite designs. That thing is so fucked.
Yeah, I know. It's so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like...
The Beds of Chaos is such a funny-ass area, I feel it, because there's like 9 bosses there, and I can't remember any of them, except for that last one, I suppose.
Yeah, so most of them were F tier for me from that area.
Yeah.
Because, like, you have...
Right, like the centipede Yeah, you go list them.
Yeah, Centipede Demon, which is just kind of a shit fight. Bed of Chaos, which is just bullshit. Ceaseless Discharge, which lore-wise I think is kind of cool, but
Yeah, a beautiful fight, I think. But no, yeah, I found the cheese pretty fast there.
yeah,
Which I don't know how you did it. It's just like there's like a little, almost like a Gears of War cover in the middle of that fight, right? Is in the middle of that platform. That's kind of where I hung out most of the time, and every time I did a swing, I could just roll, iframe through that, and then hit. That's kind of how it went.
I stayed pretty close to Ceaseless Discharge, and when they did like the arm attack, I just rolled out of the way and got as many hits as I could.
Sounds like the same thing.
Yeah, but that seems like it was also a good strategy. And then the last one there was Demon Fire Sage, which is just the Asylum Demon on fire, which sucked. It's like you fought that thing twice already.
Yeah, I died to that fire. Sorry, oh. No, the one in Beds of Chaos wasn't so bad, but the one in the prison, I died a few times too for some reason. Definitely more ruthless than it was originally, right?
Yeah, the Stray Demon, like in the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one gave me some trouble too, but yeah, pretty much all the ones in the fire area in Izalith I did not like, honestly.
Was Izalith the last fight there? Was that the Lord Vessel? The tree?
So the Bed of Chaos, the center thing is the Witch of Izalith, who was one of the original lords. Yes.
I see.
That's how that works. But yeah, there were some really cool set piece fights in the game, I thought. Like you mentioned, I do
like
think...
the Capra Demon?
No. I don't like the Capra Demon.
I think I kind of enjoy it as a troll.
Sure.
It's a very fuck you kind of funny thing. Especially if you enter that arena wrong, it's impossible. If you just are in the wrong spot of the fog door, I feel like it goes bad.
Yeah, and also...
I feel like the aggressiveness of the Capra is just kind of cool. Go ahead, sorry.
In the version we played in the remaster, because it's at a different frame rate than they originally designed the game at, you can walk through the fog gate and Capra Demon can be attacking you as you're locked in that animation too. Like you'll just be fucked because of the way the AI and like everything was designed. Because like from earlier, and Bloodborne's like this too, that's why it's like so stuck with the way it is, that like the frame rate and some of the attack animations are tied to like the camera or something in a weird way, so like it's just really hard to go back and change it like they did here clearly, but that was just like one remnant that didn't get fixed. So it's not every time, but it can happen. I think it happened to me once, but yeah.
That's funny because I think that bug has been around for like ever too, because I think when the game originally came out on PC in 2012, like there was a mod. It was capped at 30 frames on PC. It's kind of unheard of, but there was a mod that was like, here, uncap the frame rate, but be careful because some fights are harder. Just funny.
Yeah.
They should have fixed that for the remaster, but well.
Yeah. I'm trying to look at some of the other fights, right? Because there were some cool set piece ones. Seath, I'm with you, is kind of a weak one, but I think out of all the Lord Vessel ones, because it was Nito, Seath, Bed of Chaos, and Four Kings.
Yeah.
I think out of those four, Seath might have been my favorite. Like, I really love the presentation of Four Kings, but...
Seath, I just feel like it just took like 5 seconds for me.
Sure.
I can't remember anything about it because it just like, I think he did an attack, then he spawned that like white thing, and I went and hit, and it was over. That one was when I did it first try. And I don't think that's probably... I'm sure a lot of people did. I don't know. I didn't really fight him that much. I know people can go cut off the tail, and then the fight is longer. Or that can be tricky to do.
Yeah, I was not aware of that, but...
Yeah, apparently his you get a really good sword or something because of the tail. But if you run to that tail, you have a really big chance of getting cursed. So it's kind of risky.
Yeah.
But the presentation of the fight is definitely awesome. I think the whole like that crystal shit is cool.
I mean, I also like, and for my first attempt, I didn't realize this, I don't think. I think it took me a few tries to do Seath, but First attempt, I didn't realize he had like a buff going because of that crystal until like halfway through the fight. And then I ran back and cut it because I was like, I'm not doing any damage. Is something wrong?
Oh yeah.
And they do make a point to like highlight it, so I didn't know if that was just like a thing that there'd be like some kind of AoE shooting out of. But yeah, the presentation there I thought was great. In hindsight, now that I'm thinking more about it, we're talking through it, I feel like Four Kings is probably the best fight out of the four. I don't know if you agree, but
I agree with that. I really like the Four Kings, to be honest. Just because, like, you know, is it potentially just a rushed development case where they didn't make an environment? Who knows? But it looks awesome. I think I love it. It's very anime to me.
Yeah.
And I think this game, all the time, you kind of forget that it's not like made in like Poland or something. Or some European country. Like just the medieval stuff, right? I don't know. I just thought that shit was cool.
Yeah. And I also really like that. I don't know if you can get to Four Kings before this moment. You probably can, but if you want to actually fight them, you need to get the Ring of Artorias first. So
yeah,
because that will let you walk through the abyss.
Where do you get that again? Because I definitely had that beforehand.
You get that from fighting Sif.
Sif is the dog, right? Of course.
Yes. Which I don't know if you were aware of this, but if you do the DLC first, like before you meet Sif in the game, because the DLC's again super cool. We haven't talked about it much, but you go back in time and basically fulfill the legacy of Artorias because he's been screwed over by the Abyss. In that Manus area, there's an optional thing where you can find that cat from the forest area in Darkroot, and if you follow the cat, it leads you to an illusory wall where behind it you see Sif in this ring of protection being attacked by the corrupted humanity things. And if you save Sif disappears. But Sif gives you a shield and all that stuff. So if you do that first, since that's back in time, and then you come to modern day, and then you do the Sif fight, there's a different cutscene that introduces it, where you go into that arena, Sif will do the pounce off the grave on you, and then sniff you and recognize you, and have a moment where it's its eyes widen and it realizes everything, and then you go to pet it and then it howls and then it grabs the sword and you have to fight it.
No.
So even
That's
sadder.
awesome, though.
Yeah, super cool.
I found that summon, but I didn't use it in the end. But that was a cool secret.
Yeah, which
I liked Sif. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I imagine they implemented that entire alternate thing when the DLC came out, because
had to, right?
Yeah, you couldn't have beforehand. But
yeah, Sif was this is a good fight, I guess. Just some. I did it on the. I guess I feel kind of robbed every time I do one of these fights on first try.
Sure.
It's it just, at some point once I've done Kamalit for 2 hours, it's I remember that one much more now than Sif. But Sif was cool. I like the arena. I like the design's cool. But yeah, I don't know. I just can't remember anything about it because it's like a glance. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a pretty basic fight. I think the backstory there elevates it a lot. I think the presentation of the arena elevates it a lot too. But also, it's just cool. It's a giant dog with a sword in its mouth. That's just fun.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I guess I just wish I died more.
Sure. No, I get that for
not
sure.
To just brag. I guess I don't mean to be bragging, but
yeah. I mean, that's kind of how I feel, in addition to the fact that I don't enjoy the design and encounters of the bosses in Lost Izalith. I didn't really struggle on any of them. I just kind of blitzed it, and I kind of hate the end of the game to a degree where
I hate the end of the game.
I mean, as I was going into it, again, I had veterans in my ear being like, yeah, so get ready for the ending because they ran out of time, and that's why the end of the game is like the way it is, where it's some repeat bosses, they're kind of all back to back to back. The actual area of Lost Izalith, especially when you drain the lava. Go ahead.
Oh, but the chaos stuff, yeah.
Yeah, like leading up to it.
Potentially do that like first though, right? In the Lord Vessel stuff.
You could, but I think you'd have a harder time just because of scaling.
True.
But yeah. So do you remember what order you did the Lord Souls in?
Yes, I did Grave Lord Nito, then Four Kings, then Seethe, and then Beds of Chaos.
Yeah, I think I did. I think the order I did was Nito, and then Seethe, and then Four Kings, and then Bed of Chaos. I think I did that. But
yeah, had I skipped the DLC, it definitely would have been pretty weird if I just jumped from Beds of Chaos and then fight Gwen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but the 4 hours removed, even though it doesn't really make sense story-wise, I guess it felt like I needed longer to spend in the game to really finish it, I suppose.
No, I get that, because I also saved the DLC for... I think I did it after Bed of Chaos and Lost Izalith. I think I was done and I could have gone for Gwyn, and I was like, let me do the DLC first.
That's how I did it.
Yeah, okay. So, I'm with you. Like, when I finished it, I was like... I was ready to be done with the game because I was excited to, like, finish it. But I was convinced to do the DLC first because... in Bloodborne, at least, after you beat the game, you can just go back to your save prior to the boss. So, in my initial Bloodborne save, I could just do the DLC if I wanted to, right now. But here... you immediately go to New Game Plus, so even if I wanted to do the DLC, I would have had to do the prep again and all that stuff. So, I did the DLC, and I'm glad I did it, because I think it really elevates my final stretch with the game in my memory, because the DLC is pretty great, I think.
DLC is like some of, if not the best stuff in the game.
Probably. Yeah.
It's really good. It's crazy that it's so hard to find, I guess. It's like, I don't even know, I don't remember how I started. You see Dusk in the lake somewhere? I don't know.
Yeah. I think you gotta kill the Hydra first to get a pendant, and then you gotta kill the gold golem that Dusk is inside.
Yeah.
And then there's like one other thing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely kind of crazy. I wonder, because like, the way they roll after you beat Ornstein and Smo, you do that Lord Vessel stuff, right? You got that quest. You can kill those 4 guys in basically any order, and then it's a Gwen time. It's Gwen time. Do you think that's like, is that, and not to speculate, but it's definitely not the most grandiose structure to make you feel like you're doing some awesome shit, I suppose. It reminds me a lot of Breath of the Wild's directionless stuff. You know, you can do that however way you want. You can play Breath of the Wild until, okay, it's time to roll the ending, which is kind of how I felt about the game with Beds of Chaos, and then, okay, it's time to roll the ending with Gwen now. Like, it's definitely kind of anticlimactic, even if I think the last Gwen stuff is, like, awesome. The road beforehand is kind of weird, and with all the talk about Elden Ring having, like, this really open structure, and you can do anything you want in whatever direction, is that, like, gonna be the same kind of feeling, you think? That kind of, like, ending that just happens at some point?
I would...
I don't really mind it too much. I think that it's about the journey here more than anything, but, like...
Yeah.
Like, I guess, I don't know.
I would hope and I believe that it will feel more impactful in Elden Ring, because I think with the knowledge of, like, they had to get Dark Souls done, and, like, that's why I specifically Lost Izalith, which both of us saved for last. As an area, it does kind of suck, where it's just, like, it's gated and drawn out by a lot of lava, and you gotta get that ring, and then you just gotta walk through all that lava, And that's really the only barrier between bosses is walking through lava, like, and a couple Capra demons, which are a joke to you at this point. Like,
Pretty cool though.
it is cool. It is cool
Pretty
for
cool
sure.
feeling, yeah.
Yeah. And I love that they do that, and they do stuff like that in Bloodborne sometimes, where it's like, you'll see what was a boss early game, you see as a normal enemy later. Like, that's cool. I like that they do that. But it's like, it does feel anticlimactic, because it's like, I'm just walking, and it's a lot of things I've fought before. So, like, I think maybe if we chose to do it in a different order, like if we chose to do Four Kings last, maybe we wouldn't have this feeling, because as far as I'm aware, Lost Izalith was the final area they designed, and it was a lot of just like, okay, just do it, and then we gotta ship the game. So hopefully Elden Ring, they've had the time to make it feel more like Breath of the Wild, where it's like, yeah, you have your journey you go through, and then when you are ready, it's like, okay, buckle up, it's time, and then the ending is there, you know? Which I think because of the scale of Breath of the Wild, and since that's the whole point of Breath of the Wild, it worked there better, where here it's like, it's the downward second half of the game, you know, where, and I say second half, but I feel like I spent more time in the build-up to that point than I did in the, okay, I have the Lord Vessel, let me find them all, you know?
Yeah. I'll be honest, I think I kind of enjoyed the second half, but I don't know if it's just because, like, it was approachable in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have your quest really laid out to you, and then it's just like, you know, I blitzed through it. Like, I beat Ornstein and Smo, and then I kept playing for another, like, 16 hours. Because I was just so invested in getting all this, like, straight. I just played, like, probably my longest gaming session ever, I think.
Yeah, flex on that. You did a very long stream. Bring it up. Talk about it.
No, it's okay. It's like, it's just, I bring that up because I think, like, the game had its hold on me at that point, where I was like, whoa, I know what I'm doing, and I can beat anything, and then I just steamroll through basically the entire second half of the game, except for Gwen, like it was a Call of Duty campaign or something.
Yeah.
So in a way, I think that is disappointing a second half, because no challenge there felt like too hard to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I was just really enjoying it, because I felt like, oh, bro, I've become a god Souls gamer.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think that's because of a lot of things, right? Because I felt a similar way in the final stretch, where I think second half of the game, like post Ornstein and Smo, the only boss I really struggled with, like, more than 5 attempts probably, including DLC, I think was probably maybe Four Kings or Manus. I forget. But, like,
Yeah, because 4 Kings, you said he was easy as fuck for you.
it was just, I think, the management of all of them. Like, I would...
It's stressful. That timer is on, and I got freaked out.
Yeah, like, I'd burned most of my heals by the time that I got through 3 of them, and it was like, shit, I gotta do this last one fast, or else they're gonna spawn the 5th one, and then it fell apart there, where, like, yeah, like, second half of the game, I really didn't find much struggle, unless I'm forgetting about a huge wall that I hit, but, like...
Did you ever die jumping down into the abyss and accidentally landing on one of the platforms?
No, but I was nervous I was going to.
I did that like 4 times.
That's funny. Yeah.
Hardest enemy in the game is gravity.
Yeah, honestly.
Not that I would know anything about it.
Yeah. How did you do with the Bed of Chaos jump to the center trunk? Because that got me the first time, where I was like, oh, it's a straight drop to that trunk, and I just walked, and it was like, oh, actually, no, it curves. Fuck me, sorry.
So, I think... Now, I believe, and I know a lot about this game before I played it, but I didn't know everything. Mm-hmm. But I think I had seen a GIF of this fight before on the internet. because I think people would like post it whenever someone would say this is a good game and make fun of the game by showing this fight.
Yeah.
And so I think I knew exactly what to do in terms of that jump. So I don't think I died there, but I did die a few times trying to get to the after I hit one of the hand ember things, trying to get the second one. I got swung and fell onto the ground a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find that bonfire over there?
The
bonfire before the Beds of Chaos. It's in a illusionary wall in one of the...
No.
Yeah. So my run-up wasn't too bad. It was it wasn't like... It was still to walk on lava, but like you know how there's like all these like big red giant things in that lava around, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's also like 3 like house-looking things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw those.
Yeah.
But the one closest to like the looks like a school bus almost. You could roll through the first wall, and that's a bonfire.
Damn, that would have been useful.
You never found that?
No.
Yeah. I had the chat told me,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, had a hard time finding it.
Yeah, I mean, the one that I used I don't think was super far away, because it was the bonfire right after the scorpion boss, where like you come out into that area where you see the beginnings of the tree trunks, so like it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
super far, but it was like I had to trudge through magma for longer than I wanted to, you know?
Yeah.
But another boss I want to ask you about, which I think might be my favorite base game, is Ornstein and Smo, because like I said earlier, I feel like that's like the first or like the last big wall where it's like, can you do this? Because if you do this, you can beat the rest of the game. And I think it's just such a great presentation. I love the management of the both of them. The music's fantastic. I love the arena. Being able to use the pillars as like blocking Smo to like make them separate more. And the fact that the second phase of the fight can be different depending on your strategy. Where I was told that Ornstein second phase is harder than Smo's second phase. So first attempt, I got to second phase of Smo, and it was awful, and I hated it. So I was like, for funsies, let's just try Ornstein second phase, and I liked that way more. So, and I think you did the same thing.
Yeah, I think Ornstein is hard to take out first. If you want to take out one beforehand, I think Ornstein's probably the harder one to take out, right?
Yeah, and it's because of Smo.
To get to the second phase.
Yeah.
Yeah. Smo's a nice big target.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, this fight's great. I spent 2.5 hours on this fight, to be honest, and I shouldn't have, because I think I got there and then like, this game is a mental thing. I feel like a lot of times is I'll get there, do some nice damage, and then like start freaking out for some reason and spend way too long. But yeah, no, the fight felt great. It was always felt pretty approachable, and you really do learn it. And by the end of it, even like, I think I was mad the first time when I saw that, because I had been like whittling down both of their damage, because I didn't know about the second phase. So I was trying to like get both of them down to 0. But then when Smo had like was at 0, I had Ornstein down to like 20% health as well. And then never mind, Ornstein has 100% health now, and he's huge. So that was frustrating, but in hindsight, just very cool actually. It wasn't a hard boss, I don't think.
Yeah, like I definitely struggled on this one. This one took me a good number of attempts, I think. But just the fact that, like, on like a design level, I think it's super cool that like you're so focused for the first half of trying to just get through it all, and then the fact that this pair of knights will get a power up based off the first one's skills. So it's like, oh, if you think the lightning is annoying, take him out first. Psych, second phase, giant dude with a big lightning hammer. That sucks. And then if you think the big dude is annoying, okay, take him out first so it's more manageable. Sorry, the lightning dude just got big. Like I think that's just such a good, fun troll, but when you see it happen, it's like really
amazing.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the game is like really dedicated to its secrets, right? And
Hmm.
maybe to call it a secret is a stretch, but like it's full of like fun like hidden Easter eggs or whatever that makes it feel kind of like, or differences that makes it feel kind of like magical. I feel like, you know,
Hmm.
there's an attention to detail to it, even though like sometimes it looks like there isn't. It feels like a very carefully made game
Hmm.
in a lot of ways.
Because I mean,
But yeah, the pillars. Sorry.
no, you go first. I was gonna change
I was gonna
subject.
I was gonna say like learning the pillars in that fight was pretty much the final ticket to me becoming a Dark Souls master. Because
Hmm.
then I used those pillars to fight Gwen beautifully, in my
Hmm.
opinion.
Hmm.
At one point,
Yeah.
like because that's how you create the distance, right?
Hmm.
Like, oh, that was great.
Yeah, I love that because that was the first time I think in the game where the environment was purposefully part of the fight, right? Where like I found in the Bell Gargoyles, I was able to get some heals in on those like outside shooting parts of the building, like the little outlets that were the triangle roof shape, where if I was on the low end of it, they'd come close to me and just based off of the distance between us, they would do a swing because they see that like the AI is like, okay, they're this close, but because of the height differential, like the axe was with my head, so it's like that was the only other time I found myself using the environment in that way. But yeah, the pillars are I think are really cool. For at first blush, it's like, oh sweet, this is a giant cathedral, but then like when you actually get into it, it's like, oh no, these are essential to this fight. So
No, it's really the boss arena. I feel like um the boss arenas are usually, well, maybe I'm there's definitely stuff where it's definitely not even a problem. Like, I mean, they didn't even design a room for four kings,
mhm.
but like Gravelord Nito, I think you can learn like, all right, you don't have to run around like a fool because you're just gonna aggro all these skeletons.
Mhm.
'Cause that's how I did it. Is I just I just stayed exactly where I was as soon as I got into that pit and fought Nito that way. Because if I ran around that whole room, I'm just gonna get the big skeletons mad.
Did you find? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead. I had nothing.
Okay, I was gonna say, did you find any way to get into the Nido area without losing health? Because I tried like so many different I tried like parkouring down those rocks, and like I had to like
Oh,
eat a
yeah, 'cause
heal.
you fall down, right?
Yeah.
I managed to roll onto one of the rocks or jump onto the ones on the left side, and I think I took less damage going down, but I still took a kind of a hefty amount of damage.
Yeah.
So,
Um.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe that was Miyazaki's way of telling us heal and stay in this spot. Take your time.
Maybe
I
you're
don't
right.
know.
Maybe you're right.
I don't know.
But
He did do Beds of Chaos though, so I don't know.
yeah, he did. I mean, hey, at least with the Beds of Chaos, it's like you don't have to wipe every time. Like it saves your progress, kind of, which was nice.
That was weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there a lore reason for that, or was that like a we're sorry?
I think it was a we're sorry. I don't know.
Yeah, because like I didn't know what the fuck was. Maybe the tree is eternal. I don't know. Like that was freaking me out. It was nice, but I was like, why is that happening?
Yeah. But speaking of Nido and secrets, when you're in the catacombs, there's a Titanite demon in a hallway where
Yeah.
there's all these like coffins like in that hallway leading up to it, and there's one that's like outstretched a little bit. So I wasn't like strong enough to be fighting that demon at that point. So I ran down the hallway, and then I was walking past this like outstretched coffin, and I walked near it, and it said "Get in," and I was like, "Oh, is this like?" My first thought was like, "Is this like cover for this area of just like a stealth thing and like get a backstab?" And then I was sitting in it, and then I was like, "Well, earlier in this game, I had to do the thing where I like curl up in the crow nest, and I just had to wait, and then something happened." So I was like, "Let me just wait." Like a minute and see if anything happens. And I think maybe like 30 seconds go by of me just laying in this coffin in the wall, and then a cutscene happens where you see like part of somebody, and then the cover on the coffin closes, and then it teleports you to the Nido boss arena in that area. and you can see Nito like just sleeping in the coffin like you do when you go into the boss fight and he comes out of it. And then you can enter a covenant. It's called like the Gravelord Covenant or something, and that's how you unlock that. So that's just like a fun little secret to preview that area that you'll be doing after you get the Lord Vessel, which I think is a neat little fun thing.
That's pretty cool that you just found that.
Yeah.
Like, I was told by chat, but that's pretty cool. I would have probably freaked out if I had found that. Like, whoa.
Yeah, I felt like a genius.
Yeah.
It was cool. Because
I like that Nito fight, I think. I like that scream he does, that scream attack. It's weird. You really have to... Because the rhythm to it is funky. Like, you wait for that scream, but it's like 5/8 of the way through the screams. That's when you should roll. It's like nuts.
Yeah, and I think the scream is there because it, like, the arena is built in a way where if you're not a pro Dark Souls player like you could be running around the whole time and Nito could be out of sight. So like the scream is a good tell for that sword stab. But
yeah,
if you have eyes on Nito, you get the timing down better because you can see the wind up of the sword stab into the ground that follows the scream. But yeah, there were a few bosses, or at least the other one that comes to mind is Manus, where I got baited a lot with his overhead thing, where the overhead thing, he brings it up and I'm like, okay, gotta dodge. And then I like dodge into it because I come out of the animation, then he lands it. So like I had to train myself to be patient and like not trust my gut of like, don't do it yet, okay, now do it. But we were talking about secrets, and I want to ask you, you did every boss in the game, right? Like you did all of them, even the optional ones.
I think so. I believe I don't know how many bosses are in there, but I think I did all of them. I don't know.
I mean, the only ones I think that would be hard to discover would be Gwendolyn, like the tentacle one in the hallway.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Gwendolyn, I think, would be tricky to come across naturally. Maybe Priscilla, and then Moonlight Butterfly. And I think that's it.
I did all three of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. I know you can skip Copper Demon, but I don't even know how you do that. But
yeah, me
it's
either.
a very fight. I really like that Priscilla fight, even though it's very easy. And it feels very wrong to kill her. I don't know who she is, but it seems messed up to invade her painting than kill her. But it's like, I said this, but it feels like you're fighting a BT from Death Stranding.
Yeah.
Or something. It's like, it's all invisible and you just see footprints. And I kind of wish the whole fight was just her invisible. I think that would have been cool. But, no, neat fight. Painted World was cool. A lot of great optional content in this game.
Yeah, the Painted World,
I think makes it special.
For sure, yeah. The Painted World is such a cool thing, because you're right, it's entirely optional. Because that's your first area in Anor Londo, is that cathedral with the painting. And the entire time you're in there, you're walking away from the painting. So unless you like go back to explore that area, you would just miss it. So first up, love that aspect. And it's absolutely an homage to Mario 64, right? Like going into, because like I feel like in a weird way there's like a lot of, tell me if this sounds wrong, but I feel like there's a lot of old school Nintendo ideas in here where like some of the stuff reminded me of some like Ocarina of Time in terms of the way puzzles worked.
Totally. I feel like it's definitely like that. And I guess I was thinking more broadly like, oh, this feels like this feels like an old game to me. Like even though it's like just 10 years old, this feels like a 20-year-old game. But no, I think maybe Nintendo keying in on that maybe is better. I mean, to me, in the way I kept thinking about the camera and positioning stuff, it felt like Mario 64 to me. Sure. Like, that one particularly. Like, the painting is definitely the most egregious example, but, I don't know, there's an atmosphere to Mario 64 that I feel like is in this game, too.
Yeah, I think you're right, yeah.
I can just hang out in Mario 64's castle the way I can just hang out in Lordran or whatever. I don't know. Like, it's easy just to spend a lot of time. I don't really know what that is.
Yeah, I think honestly maybe some of it is just the sound design because I think the game has great sound effects
Oh, it's so good.
like the echoes that ring out like when you pop something or like when you're going through your menus. I love that. Um,
The
for
soundtrack is tremendous. I don't know if we really mentioned that, but
yeah, it's
it's
really good.
incredible.
Um, like the Ornstein and Smo soundtrack I think is incredible. Sif's I appreciate in hindsight now. I didn't really love it at the time because it was just kind of like a background track, but I think it's really good. And like Gwyn's theme, I think is the most like Final Fantasy Yoko Shimomura the sounding thing I've heard in a non-Final Fantasy game. You know?
I think it's like, I kind of vaguely describe it as like Japanese piano music. I think Evangelion and like the Echochrome soundtracks I like a lot do the same things to me, but they always sounded a little bit sad to me.
Yeah.
And the Gwen fight is so good at that. Like that's an iconic track. Everyone knows that track at this point, but oh my god, that track is so good.
Yeah.
I've known about that for years.
Oh really?
So it was cool to finally see that. But like, oh man, that song.
Yeah.
And also like, I love that Demon Souls soundtrack, but this is such a step up, like technically in a lot of other ways too. Like it's a huge difference.
Yeah, like.
What were you saying? Sorry.
I mean, another one that just came up. The Firelink soundtrack I think is so good too. Like.
Yes, that is my Mario 64 Castle moment. I think.
Sure. Yeah.
Coming back to that place is.
I mean, it
best.
also gives me like Resident Evil safe room vibes, kind of.
Totally.
Where like.
Totally.
Super uneasy, but it's really relaxing, and it's like it's just so comfy. But yeah, with the Gwyn music, I love it because the first like 3 notes I heard, when I was like, oh, so this is just a piano track, because this is the first time I ever heard it. I was like shocked. I was like, oh god, this is good. And before I could even like register what was happening, he was like leaping through the air at me. So I was like. Just a really great first impression, I think, of that fight.
Yeah.
But
that fight is aggressive, I think. And I know everyone said it was personally for me, everyone said it was a cakewalk, but like, it's a little aggressive. He really runs at you, and I think you gotta like. It's hard to heal in that fight. Maybe now if I didn't, I keep thinking back. Maybe if I didn't lock on all the time, I would have had a better time healing. But
sure.
I think it's a hard fight, but it's a really great one, I think. But
yeah,
he really leaps at you.
He does, yeah. And like I said earlier, I got an attack in on him, like a 2-handed Black Knight sword attack, pretty early, and it took out like a fifth of his health, and I was like, this isn't gonna be fun if I do it this way. So
oh yeah,
I did go for the parry route, and it made it a lot more challenging. I think it took me like 10 attempts, but
oh cool.
Yeah, just learning his patterns was super cool. You feel like a god when he does that first leap, and then he can parry that. It's so good.
Can we specifically talk about that one attempt I had? Because like, I don't even remember it. I think that shit was so funny. But like, I had got him down to like literally like the 1,000th of his health, and like I had also about 1,000th of health left, and like in my defense, I think I have this thing where I'm a procrastinator. A lot of the times I don't do work until the very last minute, and in my head I think, okay, that's the way I am, but also the work I do at that last minute will be high quality because I'm forced to do crazy shit under pressure. So in my thinking, a lot of people complain to me and they would tell me to heal, but I think for me to learn a boss fight sometimes, I need that adrenaline of almost dying. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Not to just put a defense out here, but that's kind of how I feel about it. But no, that was incredible to me. I fucking really love this game and how invested I got into the fights, because I was like leaping in and out of my chair. I don't know. It's like a great fight. I don't know. Good
yeah,
shit.
It is a very great fight. I will say, because I've definitely felt the greed at times where it's like my health is low, but so is theirs, you know?
Right, exactly.
But I think towards the later part of the game, I think during the DLC, I was like, okay, if their health is low and I have heals, I made it this far. I just have to back up, heal, and then be patient until I can get my one swing in, and then they'll die. You know, so like it was a hard thing to
Right.
overcome, but I understand your
I
defense. I
think
think.
Yeah, no, I think I probably know that now. But
Yeah.
like, because I keep thinking like when I did Elite, right? There was like one run where I think I drank all 20 Estus and the health for the dragon was still like 30%,
Hmm.
which is like, I think at some point I start focusing on healing rather than any attacking at all.
Sure.
Which I think these are lessons I've learned now, and not to just make my case as a platformer and say sorry to everyone who saw the streams that they were there. But like, I just think sometimes the game gives you a lot of Estus, and I think it's easy to rely on that, or kind of forget to do damage sometimes. You're just working on preserving yourself. I think
Sure.
I kind of struggle with the patience versus aggressiveness thing.
Yeah, I get
I've
that.
learned about myself now.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing is, and I know your plan, you're not touching Bloodborne or Sekiro for a bit, but like, hold on to that feeling, because there will be a time and a place for that type of play style, you know?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, yeah, I'm sure I'll like those games a lot.
Mhm.
And I'll answer some of my problems or
Yeah.
questions.
What were we just talking about? I had something I was going to bring up, but I lost
I don't know, I was
it,
kind
I
of
think.
rambling about my whole playthrough.
Oh, the heals. So I was told, again, blaming my friends on this, I was told there was no advantage to reversing hollowing, other than like some items will drop at a better rate. That was it. And I saw Kindle Bonfire in places, but like I stayed hollow for the majority of this game. I was a human for maybe like an hour. I never kindled anything, and I did not know that you could get optional encounters from even the NPC phantoms. I didn't know that would happen, because I saw on your stream a couple times like you'd have the phantoms show up, and I'm like, what the fuck? I was there. That didn't happen, and the servers were down. So I was like, what's happening? And
Servers are
then
down. Yeah.
yeah, I learned after I beat the game that was an advantage. Or maybe someone say disadvantage, but yeah, I didn't really mess with the hollowing, reverse hollowing, kindling at all.
That's cool. I think I use kindling as a crux. Like that's pretty awesome you didn't kindle, honestly. Because there were some bonfires where it's like, okay, I just gotta do this for the next fight. Like I think Nito, I was like, okay, I'm bringing in 10 SS to this fight.
Hmm.
But that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't think you need as much Estus as kindling lets you have. Because I do think I get into the pattern of like, and I'm sure there's other people like me too, but when you have that many heals, you stop focusing on learning the boss itself when you know you can reserve yourself that much, I suppose.
Yeah, like,
I hear they get rid of it for the sequels.
yeah, apparently that's the case. Because again, I haven't played 2 or 3. I've only played their other stuff, but yeah, with the approach to Estus, I think there were definitely places where I would have been able to beat the fight sooner if I had 10 instead of 5. But there were also times where if I was close to Firelink, I would just go to Firelink and then get the 20 and then warp to the closest bonfire to the boss,
Right.
so I'd have them, which... Was it the most time efficient? No. But like I definitely still tried at some places to have 20, like it wasn't me just rolling with 5 for the entire game. Cause yeah.
And some of them, I mean, like the one before Gwen, I believe was a 20 bonfire, I think.
Well yeah, cause that's the Lord Vessel one, I think.
Right.
And I think that's a 20, cause that's the one underneath Firelink, so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, did your Firelink one hit 20? Well, you did the optional invasion thing, right? For
Yeah, I kindled Firelink to 20.
Oh, okay.
I think before, when I was playing the game, I did have, the servers were up for a bit, and I think I did have one person invade during Quelaag, or just before that, and I killed them. Their name was Big Bertha, and they were dressed like a human, like a real player, but I don't know, maybe that was a NPC. But yeah, I actually did summon them for the fight, and they were total ass.
Wait.
So it didn't end up working out.
Now that I think of this, remember the gold man, Lotric, I think? The knight? He was in
Maybe.
the upper area. There's a prison cell in the Undead Parish. You can unlock his cell.
Totally.
And then he shows up at Firelink. You killed him there, didn't you? Like, you swung at him once and then he fell off the edge. Did that happen?
I don't think so. Was that a recent one? Because I accidentally aggroed an NPC a couple nights ago with the one that had the Ornstein armor. Are you thinking of that guy?
No, this was like early, I think. Like pre-Lord Vessel, pre-Ornstein smoke. I feel like...
You're so right. I totally did jump someone off the fucking edge.
Yeah.
Because the chat told me that he had an Uchi Katana. But yeah, that wasn't an accident. I did it on purpose.
Right, no.
Ooh.
So, Lotric...
Who was that? Yeah.
...is a knight. And, because I freed him also. I freed him from his cell, and then he showed up in Firelink. And he gave me something, and it was like... He was like, what, you're not pleased with this reward? And then I just left. And then I did more of the game, and I wasn't at Firelink for a few hours. And I came back, and then the bonfire in Firelink was out. I was like, what the fuck? Why can't I heal here? Why can't I rest? And then I initially thought it was that knight that you talked to at the beginning of Firelink, because I saw that he hollowed. And he was in New Landa Ruins. And my firekeeper in Firelink was dead. You know, the woman in the cell below?
Right. Oh no.
So I was like, did the hollow guy kill her? But no, Lotric, I guess, I forget the lore reason, but like he wants to collect the firekeeper souls for some religious thing. So he killed her and then went back to his own dimension. So there's an item you can get, I forget where, but if you have the item in your inventory and you go to the main hall leading up to Ornstein and Smo, you'll get a notification, like at the lower part of the screen where you see like notes and stuff. It said, like, black something eye resonates here or something like that. And if you select it, you will invade Lotric's universe, and then you have to fight Lotric in the hall. It was Lotric and two of his goons, and if you kill him, you get a ring and the Firekeeper soul back. So then you bring it back to the Firekeeper, and then she'll finally talk to you and be like, hey, I wanted to die. Why the hell did you do this? My life is miserable. Anyway, I'll kindle the bonfire for you. So that's how I got 20 out of Firelink.
No, I didn't know she wanted to die. That's messed up. Also, that's crazy. How did Souls do the multiverse before Marvel?
I don't know.
I'm sorry. I saw a TikTok where this guy was like, check out this new A24 movie. It's talking about the multiverse just like Spider-Man. Did you see this TikTok?
Yeah.
It was like really funny. Did you see that one?
I think so, yeah.
It was crazy. Like how... Okay, but yeah, that's cool though. So you actually invaded his world?
Yeah, I invaded Lotric's world.
Like, that's awesome.
Killed him.
I didn't know that could happen.
Yeah.
So, did you kill him?
I did, yeah. I killed him and I got a ring. I think this was the ring that you got when you killed him, because there was an item you picked up after he fell off the cliff, right?
Yeah.
It was the ring that buffs like your health, your carry weight, load, it buffs everything. But if you take it off, it breaks.
Oh yes. I never took it off.
Yeah, same.
It was so funny when I killed that guy.
Yeah, that was good.
He just falls off. It's so fun.
I think he had a line too before he said it, before he fell. He had like a really funny line.
What? Yeah, something like that. Like, I see this is what you've chosen or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something dumb.
Yeah.
But yeah, the actual online player I summoned was... I tried to not summon, but for some reason I was like, I would like to see the system happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I summoned them for the... And I had killed them actually earlier. I had killed this person earlier when they invaded. But then for some reason their summon sign was right outside of Quelaag. And then they showed up and they didn't know what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So we both died in that boss fight. So
That's unfortunate. I mean,
yeah.
you bring up the multiverse with Dark Souls, right? I think, from my understanding of some of the lore I've watched this week, the way they handle invasions is kind of the way that Pokemon handles their in-universe explanation for why you and I could both have Pokemon Silver and play through it, and both things are the true canon, where, like, each cartridge in Pokemon is like a pocket dimension alternate universe where and I think like one of the remakes got into this and like really went all out with this, but
Which one? I actually have never heard of this.
I think it was like the post game of Oras. They were like, oh, we have like this portal that can open to other dimensions where like you did this journey, but it was completely different, you know?
Whoa.
I think that's the Dark Souls explanation, where summoning is another chosen undead that is supposed to go on this journey and to see Gwyn from a different dimension, or in this case, a different hard drive or different disk, is that universe.
It's got all that, like, you know, weird self-contained stuff. Like, I feel like when a game tries to really justify its existence, like, the whole story is like a cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think that's cool. It just like, I just feel like they really thought about it, like how to make all this canon, or however it is.
Yeah, like it all follows the logic it sets up in a way that I really appreciate, and they're committed to it, you know? So, I mean, you bring up the cycle, what ending did you get?
I linked the fire, which I legit got mad when that happened, because like everyone said I picked the bad ending, but like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a grasp on the story at all.
Mm-hmm.
Even now I still don't really get it, but for a second there I thought like, no, I've done something wrong. I played this game like, because this is my first time beating one of these games. I was like, oh man, I don't want to get the bad ending. But yeah, no, I linked the fire, got a cool cutscene. What'd you do?
So I did both, where I beat Gwyn and then I uploaded a cloud save so I could get both endings for the trophies. But my first thing I did was I linked the fire, because I went up to it and that was the only option I had, you know? Like, it just says press X to link fire.
Yeah, like I wasn't even thinking, I just saw that, I was like, oh, bonfire.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, because like, at least with Sekiro, like there's a thing you interact with as the final thing, and you have choices after you click the interact button. So I was like, okay, it's probably going to give me a choice after I click that. But no, you link the fire in that ending. You do what Gwyn did. You kindle the first flame, so the way that Gwyn's initial kingdom was set up to go, with the gods being in power, can continue for maybe another 1,000 years. That's one ending. The other ending, do you know how to trigger it? Did you find out?
I think you walk out of the arena, right? Is that what happens?
Yeah, you just turn around and leave. So,
Okay.
that ending, which it's presented in a way that like the ending that you chose is supposed to feel like the good ending, because like you link the fire, you like save your sacrifice, all that stuff. But the other ending, you become a Dark Lord and usher in the Age of Man in a world without the fire. So the pro of that is that Gwyn and these gods and all these people that have been in command for so long and got the world to this place, they have no more influence if you don't link the fire. However, the Abyss still exists, and you saw what the Abyss did to Ulasil and all those people there. So there's a chance that you could everybody could turn into Bloodborne monsters, but you're the guy who's trying to lead them through this new era. So I don't think either ending is good or bad. I think it's a matter of how you interpret things, because there's Frampt, whose entire job was to keep things status quo, and then there's another serpent you meet called Koth. I think in one of the Abyss
I don't know if
areas.
I ever met that second serpent. You meet him in the Abyss?
I think so. I think it's after Four
Or
Kings at that bonfire.
did you meet that guy?
I did, yeah.
Did I meet him? I don't think I met him.
I don't know
Maybe
if
I
you
did.
did.
I don't remember. Or maybe I thought it was just Framped again. But
Yeah.
you have to. Is it mandatory to meet him, or like
I don't think so.
do you have to find him?
I think you can miss it, but if I remember
Yeah.
correctly, I think Kath just said like that toothless serpent. I think he was talking about Framped. He was like, he's lying to you, and everybody's lying to you, and like he was using big fancy words, so I didn't fully comprehend what he was talking about. I was just like, okay, this is just lore. But Koth is basically trying to get you to not link the fire because I guess Koth didn't want to continue being a serpent in the Age of Fire and the gods because I think Gwyn doesn't like the serpents except for Framped, I think.
I
So, yeah, but
But does Gwen want to die in that moment that you kill him? Does he want to be over with it?
I think he just wants his world that he built to continue, and if that means he dies, he doesn't care.
I see.
Because he in that world, he'd still be worshipped as the king and the god that created everything, and yeah. So all that in mind, I guess, seeing both avenues, which ending do you think is the good ending?
It depends on what. So when you hear the credits for the other ending, is it the same song
I think so.
or is it different? Okay, then I guess I was gonna say which one has more upbeat credits. You know, maybe it's the walking away because the continue to do that bonfire animation feels kind of like a weird thing to do as your last moment in the game, I suppose, because you've been doing it the whole time. So maybe it is you just walk out all cheery like, but I don't know, to be honest. I don't know enough about the lore. I think to be honest, if that sketchy serpent is down there in the abyss telling you, hey, don't link the fire, I don't know if I trust the snake like that.
Sure, yeah. I
don't know.
think what I love about the two endings is that you don't really get an answer on what is the right thing to do, but when you have the perspective of like in the linking the fire ending, you were just a tool for these gods, and the gods got the world the way it was. I don't know, I feel like that just gives you a different perspective on what you thought was the good ending, and it might not be the good ending, you know? And I think that's kind of a more interesting way to have a good and bad ending than a lot of other decision-based, or even not decision-based, but games that are like, was this a good idea? You know? Like, I think this was a really interesting way to, like, authentically give you that feeling of, like, did I do the right thing? More than a game that is screaming at you, like, hey, do you think you did the right thing? You know, like, I really appreciate this decision and the ambiguity of it, kind of.
No, I think you're totally right, and it's very cool. It's hands off, like the game is entirely. I think it's authentic, and it definitely gives you something to chew on, and I think it makes you look into the lore more, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get curious about it. I will say I did like every time I beat a game that takes me more than like 5 hours, I want the good ending.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to see how it's ended, but now I see in hindsight, oh, this is way cooler. But at the time I was like, oh man, don't tell me I got the bad ending after I just fucking beat this game in 45 hours or whatever, you know?
For sure.
But it is cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do appreciate that about most From Software, or at least out of the ones I've played, right? Like, I think Bloodborne's endings are similar, where it's like you don't really know what's the good one. Sekiro, there's absolutely a bad ending. That you like kind of have to go out of your way to get, in a way. But what I really appreciate here, since I saw both endings back to back, is they're not that like different in terms of what they give you, in like for stuff to chew on. Where you burn, and then you see the fire reignite in that entire ash desert, which is like also great area. That's such a cool environment.
Yeah.
If you walk out, you where the Lord Vessel is, and then you see a bunch of the serpents, like a bunch of Framps, line that corridor, and then they all bow to you because you were the new king, the new leader of the new world.
That's what happens in that other ending?
Yeah, which it's like a little bit longer of a cutscene, but it's still super ambiguous.
I see. Even Framp bows, or no? Does Framp bow, or do you even not know if he's there?
I don't know if he's there. It could have been any of them, because there was like 6 probably. We only ever saw 2. Most people only saw 1.
I see.
But I think pre-Artorias DLC, that ending probably would have felt more like the good ending, where if you have that perspective of like you're just sustaining the god's power, like being able to see what the Abyss could do to people, then maybe it's like more of a question, you know?
Sure.
So.
Yeah, so I got the good ending then. Let's call it there.
Sure, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, were there any other characters that stood out to you that you want to talk about? Like, I feel like we didn't really talk about Artorias at all.
I like that mushroom person.
Yeah, she was cool.
I
Elizabeth, I think, was her name.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Some great voice acting. I like them. I like the Marvelous Chester, which I think is such a funny name.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't know, he's the Joker, right? And just his name is Chester. Like, it's just funny.
Yeah.
Do I know there's anyone else? You? Do you have any?
Not particularly. Like, I think the most interesting boss is Artorias for sure, but like I watched a video about like Quelaag, and her mother was the witch in the Bed of Chaos, and she has a bunch of sisters who are in the game that you can meet. Like, there's the one that's like pure white in that illusory wall, you know?
Right.
She's a firekeeper. There's a whole plot where if you, I guess Quelaag can drop a ring. Like, if you put her ring on and then you go to talk to her, she'll actually speak to you because she's blind, but she will sense the ring and think you're Quelaag. And
cool.
There's a bunch of stuff that can spin off there, which is cool. But yeah, I think like favorite character would probably be Artorias, just because it's just cool. It's just such a cool thing, and the fact that main game you get the ring and you hear about Artorias and you're like, oh, big important night, and then when you actually go back in time, you see that he lost and he was corrupted, and then you're the one who has to like defeat Manus, and then when people in the future are like, oh yeah, Artorias beat the Abyss, it's like, no, you did, but the world thinks Artorias did it because they can't know that there was a time traveler. I think that's super cool, and that's such a great DLC premise.
I have to be honest, I didn't know we were doing time travel stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't know that happened, but that is cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, it's a great fight too. I think.
Yeah.
There was something I read that someone said that Artorias is like the direct Berserk, like, homage from.
I think.
Them.
Oh, Berserk homage from what? From
like, just like, you know, because Miyazaki, I think, has been very vocal about like his love of Berserk, and that influences in a lot of the From Software games. But I think Artorias, I think they said, is like supposed to be a big Guts reference. So
there's a Miyazaki quote, and I don't know if it was a joke or not, but like, so I don't. It might not be a real thing he said, but I think it was about boss design, like the way they look, and it was like, can you? I think he was talking about how some of these boss character designs or whatever he sees are like bad, and he'll complain to employees being like, why can't you? Where is the desperation from this character? I guess is what I think he said,
Mm-hmm.
which I always think of all the time now whenever I fight one of these bosses. Because I think Artorias is a great one because the way that guy like is fucking screaming all the time and just
Mm-hmm.
like fighting for his life, that is the key Miyazaki. This man is desperate moment to me. Like,
Yeah, that's super cool. And I also like I think it's a really good fight too. In addition to that,
yeah,
like
it's a very fair fight. It's almost easy,
yeah,
isn't?
like I don't think I struggled much with Artorias, but I think Artorias and most of the DLC fights, because Artorias and Manas I think are the most well thought out bosses in the game, where it feels like, again, somebody who's played future From games, it feels closer to that and what I'm used to.
People kept saying that like there was a shift in design with that DLC. Like that's where the bosses took hold from afterwards.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Which, honestly, I would believe, because, like I said, when I was looking back in hindsight about the way I thought of most of the bosses in the game, the ones that really shine were either really great presentation ones or the DLC bosses, I think. So, yeah, I really, really loved the Artorias fight, and the fact that, like, he's got a broken arm, and, like, it's just dangling there the whole time. Like, another thing I found out in the lore is that, I think he's left-handed, or something like that, and his left arm is the one that's broken, so he's not even fighting with his dominant hand. So, like, he's not even at full power, but he's still super hard. I love that. That's so cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I noticed that either.
But,
I gotta be honest. I got like the sandwich. Do you want to take a break, or do you
Sure.
want to wrap this up?
yeah,
This is you.
I mean, I don't know if there's much else you wanted to cover. I feel like we got through most of the stuff.
I don't know. I think we didn't really talk about that whole interconnected level stuff, which I think was super cool here.
Mhm.
But I wonder if it's how important do you think it is? I think it's here. It's very cool because like it's always a nice surprise seeing these shortcuts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, I didn't really mind warping to Anor Londo and stuff. I thought that was fine.
Yeah, like,
Because I'm thinking like my next step is like I keep thinking about Dark Souls 2, right? And I know the map in that game is like supposed to be a mess, but like I don't know. Oh, what are you thinking?
so, like, the warping you get after probably at least, like, 18 hours, right? So, like, you know everywhere you've been so far. And
Yeah.
even from that point, the only times where I was like, oh, thank God, when I found a shortcut was the elevator with the bell gargoyles to Firelink. And
Sure.
my mind was blown when I found the other elevator that led to the New Londo ruins from that cave outside of Blighttown.
That was cool, yeah.
Those were the only two that I was like, what? You know, which, like, I feel like people act like the shortcuts are like that all the time. But
Yeah.
those are the two that really felt like
Um,
they were useful.
I quite like that one from the Capra Demon to that bridge with the rat.
Sure,
I
that
thought
yeah,
that was fun.
that too. Yeah, that one
Yeah.
was good. But yeah, I feel like outside of that, not many of the other shortcuts stand out to me. So, like, the warping, I think
No.
once I got that, that's how I moved everywhere. You know, for the most part.
Yeah.
But
Warping was OP.
yeah, I do enjoy the way you progress though. Like, getting
Me too.
to each area. Like, I think the path of following that and realizing, I think you compared it to a Metroid game. Did you?
Yeah.
Like,
I totally did, but I think a lot of people have made that comparison before, but I think it's accurate.
sure, like, you're traveling, you go through a thing. Like, specifically one that comes to mind first half is Sense Fortress. You see that gate, and it's like, can't go there. And then you're like, okay, let me go down this other path. And then you just are on that other path for a few hours, and then you realize you can go back to Sense Fortress now, which leads to Anor Londo, which leads to da-da-da-da-da. You know, like, I think the way the game unfolds is great. And I'm more impressed with that, I think, than the shortcut stuff.
Sure. I think I agree, totally, to be honest. Yeah. Trying to think of our shortcuts, but I can't really. But no, I think that the way you stumble across one roadblock and then you decide to go on another path for a bit, I think is really key to make these games actually enjoyable to play when you're up against a challenge, because you can always have a kind of a way out or something to. If you're beating your head against something, you can kind of chill out somewhere else for a bit.
Yeah, and
Usually.
that is why I really think Elden Ring is probably going to be the most approachable one so far, where it is the open world, and like to an extent I was able to do this in Dark Souls, but like if I'm exploring the northwest region of that map in Elden Ring and that boss has given me the worst time of my life, I probably wouldn't do this because I'm like, no, I just explored all this area leading up to this. I want to finish this. But if it was too hard, explore southwest. Go down that way. See if that boss is easier. You know, like I think that is probably going to be a big element to that game with its structure, and I think that's going to be really exciting to have that choice. But
I'm really looking forward to that. It's out in like a month, right?
yeah, so
I'm gonna try and finish Dark Souls 2 and 3 before then at least. I don't know if that can happen, but
yeah.
I'm really excited about Dark Souls 2. You ever gonna play that one? I know people say it's like bad.
Here's the thing. Again, good old buddy Matt, Dark Souls 2 was his favorite, and he was sort of like my modern. When I was in college, like after I tried Bloodborne, he was like, "No, Dark Souls 2 is great. You gotta try Dark Souls." Now he thinks he was such an idiot because he's like, Dark Souls 2 is the worst one. It's terrible. Don't play it. So if he's telling me not to play it,
No.
He could just be over-exaggerating, but like...
He did tell you to get a shield. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't want to say I'll never play Dark Souls 2, but I think, especially like lore-wise and just the way people talk about the design, I'm much more inclined to start Dark Souls 3 next as a follow-up to this one.
I've heard some cool stuff about the way Dark Souls 2 handles story and lore that makes me really excited.
Okay.
But like, I've heard like people say like, you know how Sekiro kind of gets into more direct story stuff?
Sure.
Like showing cutscenes and showing stuff as they happen. I've heard people say that about Dark Souls 2. So I'm kind of curious about it, but I don't know.
Honestly,
I'm scared of it also.
That could be one of the reasons it has a bad reputation, because I also know there's a lot of Dark Souls fans. I was reading a Arrow thread this morning about this, actually, but like, there's a lot...
Dark Souls 2 level design?
No, sorry. There's a lot of Dark Souls series fans that hate Sekiro for a number of reasons.
Oh.
But I love Sekiro, and Sekiro I think is still my favorite one. So like, if one of the reasons Dark Souls 2 has that reputation outside of the map layout is just because of the storytelling, then like I liked it in Sekiro, so yeah, maybe I'd like it there. But
yeah, you think I could beat Sekiro? Even though I know you saw me play Dark Souls, that's kind of different. But like, if I got to the Armor Knight, I can probably do Sekiro, right? At some point.
I think so, because that's the other thing too. Like, Sekiro made me better at Devil May Cry, and you like Bayonetta and those types of games, so like I think you'd have an advantage going in there than you would over other ones.
God, see, I really want to play that one. I really want to play that.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
You will be playing Dark Souls 2.
Yes.
You're starting that soon.
Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. But yeah, I'll be playing a lot of. I kind of play my Twitch channel.
Yeah, go for it.
Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, on twitch.tv/OhmsTheChef, I'll be playing, I think, Dark Souls 2, either starting on the January 28th, probably. I don't know when this goes up, but
yeah,
we'll probably be playing a lot of it in a very short amount of time.
Sweet, yeah. I will probably try and get this up today, honestly. There's no other YouTube uploads going up today, but we got Excelsior tomorrow, so try and do that.
I had such a great time playing Dark Souls on the channel, to be honest. I did 50 hours of that in like 9 days, and man, that game, I really do love this game. I think
yeah,
it's one of my favorites.
I do too, and I think when I was texting you after I beat it, or after you beat it, and just like general text thoughts about the game, I think it's grown on me like a lot since I beat it, where I think I'd give it a 9. Because I like, especially on the New Game Plus run, like being able to see more of the design in front of me, like it's a really really cool game, and I really love it.
Yeah,
So yeah.
it's. I think it's rare that you play a classic these days and you kind of get it completely right.
Hmm.
Like, I think the people were right.
Yeah. No, that was the thing. Yeah, I beat it. I was like, yeah, everybody was right.
It's really one of the. Isn't it also funny how influential it is? Because like you play it, and it is so jank in a lot of places.
Hmm.
But like, hell, we have a fucking Star Wars one of these now, which is
Yeah.
so absurd. I think.
Yeah.
Where the series where it came from.
Hmm.
Demon Souls damn near didn't get localized,
I know.
which is so funny.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. Like PlayStation must be kicking themselves that they
Yeah.
lost.
Sony said they didn't fucking they said no. They gave it
Yeah.
to Atlas, right? That's what happened. Yeah.
So yeah, it's really wild. I love this game. And I started New Game Plus almost immediately, and I still haven't played Bloodborne a
did
second
too.
time. So like, I don't know. Maybe I like it more than Bloodborne. I don't know. We have to see. But
There's something about again, once they put you back in Firelink, it's like, okay, I can do this all over again.
yeah,
I really
exactly.
felt that too. It's like I can do this right. I can roll through it right now.
Yeah, because I got both bells, and I think the next thing I have to do is Ornstein and Smo. I think like I got
And
pretty
then you just
far.
yeah, then you just steamroll the game.
Yeah, like
easy.
I don't know, Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I know I'm a Sekiro boy, but Dark Souls is maybe creeping up on the ladder. You know, it's really great.
I wonder. I got like 5 more of these games to play, but I'll be surprised if any of them top this one because I liked it so much. But they just might, you know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So, like you said, you're going to be playing Dark Souls 2, so if people want to follow along, I'll put the Twitch link in the YouTube description of this and the podcast description.
Thank you very much.
And I will be watching your Dark Souls 2 playthrough because I don't intend on playing it anytime soon. But I'm thinking of maybe trying to get through Dark Souls 3 before Elden Ring. So if you do, I'd be interested in talking again. But
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
and we're both going to be
Maybe I
playing
can tell
Elden
you
Ring
everything
too.
that happens.
So.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I mean, Dark Souls 2 could also just be a game where it's too hard for me to play, but I think I'll figure it out if I can do this
Yeah.
one.
Sure.
But people make it sound scary to me, which I get worried about. But it can't be scary, right?
Yeah, no. I mean, like, you also have
Yeah.
a chat that most of them, at least being there were a lot of people that knew what were going on in Dark Souls.
That's what I'm saying, though, because I think a lot of people know what's going on in Dark Souls, but I think 2 is the one that then gets people kind of skipped it, so I'm worried. Well, maybe I'll pull out a guide.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, I can't help. Like, I'll see if Matt is
No,
around
right.
to be in the chat, but, like, I
Yeah.
can't be of any assistance. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that and playing more of these games. But, yeah, you can find Omar everywhere, Ohms the Chef. You can find me, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, ChunTD2. I'm thinking of maybe starting Kingdom Hearts 1 on stream this Sunday, so maybe
yeah.
we'll see that. I'd like to replay that and maybe get the platinum. So this Longplay Club episode will be available on the Longplay Club feed. If you want more deep dive discussions like this, you can scroll back in the RSS feed and check out. I haven't done the math, but I think there's probably at least 60 hours of you, me, Jack, and Kevin talking about Metal Gear.
Sweet.
Across that franchise.
That's one Metal Gear Solid 5 playthrough.
Yeah, exactly. So if you need a good podcast for listening to while you play Metal Gear Solid 5, there you go.
And you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'm trying to figure out more long play things to do in the coming weeks and months around different games, so stay tuned for that. But thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Dark Souls, fantastic game. As the internet was well aware before we played it, but I don't know. I feel like it was nice to have this right before Elden Ring. It's probably going to be valuable to somebody, I hope.
I hope so. It was very valuable to us, or to me personally. It's great to know what one of these games fully are, I guess,
Yeah.
for me.
Sure.
And also, it's crazy. This game is like 10 years old, right? Isn't that nuts?
Yeah. That's ridiculous.
It freaks me out.
Last thing, too, A lot of the places do look nice. I know it's a remaster, but like we talked about vibes a lot. There's some good art direction in these environments, you know? There's some good stuff.
Some really great art, yeah. And there's stuff that doesn't look great, but the stuff that does looks fantastic. And Orlando, beautiful.
Yeah, dude. Wonderful.
Even the Twilight, beautiful.
Yeah. Well, on that note, thank you again for listening. Omar, do you have a Dark Souls sign-off for us?
God, praise the sun. Is that what they say?
Yeah.
Dark Souls fans say?
That's the one.
Yeah, there we go.
Praise the sun.
All right. Praise the sun.